on indoor mask use in New York City will come as soon as Monday. It was only back in May that New Yorkers were allowed to go mask-free indoors after a year of restrictions and lockdowns hit businesses hard. The prospect of indoor masking is not sitting well with Eli Klein, a New York City art gallery owner. He tweeted out, "A mask mandate is a slowdown for all indoor entertainment venues, stadiums, gyms, theaters, concerts hall, clubs, malls, stores, offices, etc. People don't want to do these things if they have to cover their face." And Eli Klein joins me here now in studio. Very nice to see you.
Thanks for having me, John.
Thank you for being willing to speak out about what you feel and what you're seeing and to come on and talk about it now. You really don't want to go back to masks indoors in your gallery.
Well, it's not just about my gallery. It's about New York City generally. If we are subject to sweeping mask mandates now in the summer, let's be honest. We don't know when COVID levels will ever be lower than they are now in New York City, and that could put us on a slippery slope to all kinds of the same restrictions that we were subject to last year. I mean, things like micro-cluster targeting and capacity limits and business shutdowns. It's not just a mask. And I think, none of us have a problem just putting on a mask. It's really much more than that. It's a blueprint for indefinite government restrictions in New York, which, we've had vaccines available for everyone 12 plus for many months. And that there has to be an end game. There has to be an off ramp.
I want to talk about vaccines again in just a second. But first, I just want to know, because you've been listening, you've been here for the beginning of the show. You've heard the news about the Delta variant, how much more contagious it can be, and the fact it could make people even sicker. Does that have any impact on your view?
No, I think it's obviously catastrophic news. And it's something that we should all take very seriously. We've been taking, COVID very seriously since the beginning. And it doesn't impact my view with respect to re-implementing restrictions. The fact of the matter is that these vaccines are widely available. They're extraordinarily effective. And it's a matter of, obviously, there's issues with, personal risk tolerance and whatnot. But it doesn't change the fact that re-implementing mask mandates in New York City would stunt our recovery, would diminish tourism and many aspects of life. It would crush businesses that have already been crushed.
Okay, so you don't like the idea of mask mandates. What about vaccine mandates?
Well, vaccine mandates is a different question. I think the main problem that I have in New York City, for example, is the discriminatory aspect of it, to be honest. I mean, it's what happened in New York is we really, these lockdowns push the burden to essential workers and to minorities.
But vaccines are available to everybody.
Right, but they were infected disproportionately.
Sure.
They're vaccine hesitant disproportionately. Over 60% of blacks in New York City aren't vaccinated, but they have higher levels of natural immunity, of infection-conferred immunity that isn't considered vaccinated by the CDC when the data is clear that it should be.
Okay. Why not hang a sign on your gallery that says, you can come in here unmasked if you're vaccinated or if you test negative for COVID?
Well, I mean, I think people know the rules.
Well, no, but would you be okay with a situation where you can come in unmasked, so you don't have to wear a mask if you're vaccinated?
There's no government guidelines right now that are forcing me to do that. So But
you could. There's nothing stopping you from doing it.
I could do anything. We could always do things to be more safer.
But if your concern is that people don't want to come in to your gallery, which I hear is wonderful, by the way, masked, well, then have them come in unmasked but vaccinated.
I just want to be clear that my concern isn't selfish. It's not based on people coming into my gallery. My concern is, I'm a lifelong New Yorker. I was born and raised in Greenwich Village. My concern is for New York generally. And re-implementing these restrictions.
Mask restrictions.
Mask restrictions lead to every restriction. And we know that. We've seen it.
Do you consider vaccine requirements to be a restriction?
I mean, are they technically a restriction? I suppose so. If someone's checking vaccine status upon entry, it is. And I think my biggest problem with that is that effectively bans 60% of black people in New York from my gallery, for example. And am I prepared to ban the majority of black people from visiting my gallery? Absolutely not, John.
Well, let's hope we get more people vaccinated.
I agree with you completely.